日暮れから朝まで、君が扉を開ければ、いつだって一休みできる。ここは、そんな場所なんだ。
Artem's residence. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's about it. It's a sunny afternoon. You place your nail polish bottles one by one on the desk, forming a neat row in the sunshine. Adjusting their order on the milky white table reminds you of picking up sea glass amidst white sand on the beach. As you lose yourself in the process, a noise comes from the hallway behind you.
ただいま。冷蔵庫の飲み物がなくなりそうだったから買ってきたんだが。
You watch as Artem puts on his slippers, the plastic bag in his hand moist and tinged with different colors from the contents inside. Before he could take out the drinks, his attention is drawn to the bottles you've laid out on the table.
それは、
I've been moving my things here lately and I'd almost forgot about all the nail polish I've brought. I must have found the colors pretty and I think there was a discount when I got them. I guess that's what they call an impulse buy. I've barely used them. As you explain to Artem, you feel a kind of warmth drawing near. He stands next to you after putting the drinks in the fridge. It's probably unusual for him to examine such brightly colored glass bottles up close. He picks one up and turns it around in the sunlight.
衝動買いだなんて言うが、とてもいい色だ。欲しくなった君の気持ちがよくわかる。新居の寝室にある化粧台や棚の上に飾ったらどうだ？そのくらいのゆとりは十分にあると思うが。もしかしたらいずれ気が向いて試してみたくなるかもしれない。
Well... At this moment, you purposefully pause for a few seconds in front of Artem. As Artem notices the deliberate silence and turns to you again, you quickly whisper a few words in his ear. Actually, I've already found the perfect occasion for trying them out. Take a look at this. You open the photo album on your phone and show it to Artem as you speak. On the screen are posters for a film event that appears completely unrelated to nail polish. Interpret your favorite movie like The Mockingbird. The Mockingbird himself can't help but chuckle at the slogan.
ああ、そのサロンか。そこのオーナーは誰もが映画の意見や感想を自由に述べていいというスタンスで、いつも映画の討論会をやっているな。ただ、彼らのディスカッションは少々活発すぎるらしくてな。まだ顔を出したことはない。
I think I get what you mean. Look, the theme of the next event is sharing and recreation. Participants are supposed to share their favorite movies and personal stories with them, and then act out scenes as characters from the film. It says each participant will receive a reward, but I'm aiming for this one here.
三等賞か？レコードのようだな。
Yeah, the third prize is a record with classic film scores from the organizer's collection. You can choose any record you like. If there's a particular film score you're interested in, you can just tell the organizer.
好きなものを？とんでもない量のレコードを持っているような言い方だな。
Yeah, that's why I want to go to this event. I even dug up this old nail polish for my makeover. But in order to recreate a film scene, you probably need more than one actor, so... You don't need to complete your sentence for Artem get the hint. He nods. If someone is to share your spotlight and prize at the movie lounge, it has to be him.
意気込みは分かった。 なら勝率を高めると同時にスコアコントロールもしないとな。ただ詳細を決める前に一つ気になることがある。なぜそんなにレコードが欲しいんだ？
The words vinyl record seems to evoke something in Artem. He casts an involuntary glance at his collection of films and music. There are lots of vinyl records in his collection, including both popular and lesser-known film scores. You interrupt his momentary loss of attention by picking up a cushion and shoving it into his arms like a certain prize yet to be won. You then toss the cushion to the side and snuggle up to him. But you already know the answer. You're the one who wants the prize. I'm just trying to help you win it.
私のために？いや待て、まさか。
You can feel a slight tremble in his chest as he speaks. Judging from his tone, he must have recalled your conversation. Home theater. It rained non-stop before these last few days of sunshine. You pull open the door to the home theater amid the distant rumble of thunder and push the boxes one by one into the corridor. Artem, we're bringing all the records to the new place, right?
ああ、最後に漏れがないかもう一度確認するつもりだ。
I believe we have all your vinyl records here, but this one looks empty. You take a record case from the partially open box, frowning as you feel its lightness. From the description on the album cover, there is only one song on this record, which means the album name must also be the song name. Something you never knew. Can I open it, Artem?
もちろん。それはストレンジャーノベルズの主題歌だ。ずいぶんボロボロになっているな。初期の方に集めたものだったはずだ。
The film Artem just mentioned is an old one from the 90s. Many of its songs are still regarded as classics today. The record case you're holding is empty, yet Artem still touches it fondly. But why is it empty? Artem?
え？ああ、レコードの話だったか。古いものだからな。中のレコードをうっかり他のジャケットに入れてしまったのだろう。
Artem snaps out of some memory unbeknownst to you and answers your question. You might believe it if it were somewhere else, but given his meticulous ways, you find it hard to believe that he would have put one of his earliest pieces of collection in the wrong case. Really? But you...
私だってうっかりすることはあるさ。どうやら探すしかなさそうだ。かなり時間がかかってしまうかもしれないな。
That's alright. You respond swiftly. Apart from finding the missing record, you're also curious about what Arthur might be hiding. We have plenty of time today. We could spend the whole day here if we wanted to. Despite your thorough search of the home theater, you found no trace of the vinyl record. Artem told you not to dwell on what's lost, but I thought that album must be meaningful to you, considering it's one of the earliest albums in your collection. So it would be great if we could find it. We could find the original record. But if we can't find it, maybe we could place a new one in the case. Artem glances at you before looking down at the poster, his eyes lingering a while longer on the words record of your own choice.
そうだな。空になったのを見ているのは少し寂しい。レコード、映画のシーンの再現、マニキュア、そして君にはパートナーが必要。
He mumbles to himself, trying to piece together the fragments of information. And the mumbling quickly turns into a sigh as Artem, the mockingbird, discovers such connections between these words.
私の推理が正しければ、君はサロンでストレンジャーノベルズのワンシーンを再現しようとしているんだな。
Artem residence. You nod excitedly before Artem could finish his sentence. The scene in Lyric Story where the female and male leads dance together is one of the most iconic scenes in the history of film. Not to mention the classic costume design, it shouldn't be difficult to replicate. In the film, the female lead dances casually in a white blouse and black trousers, approaching her partner as the music flows. The dance itself won't be much of a challenge. Rather than dancing, they're really just swaying along freely with music. In addition, the song of that scene just happens to be in Artem's collection, so the idea of reproducing the dance with him naturally occurred to you. That's why I want to try on the nail polish now to figure out which color comes closest to the one in the movie.
試し塗りか。手伝おう。
Artem's slender fingers hover momentarily above the row of nail polish bottles in front of you. It looks like he's trying to choose a color. He quickly picks up a glass bottle and twists the cap off, examining the thin brush attached to the cap.
はけ。まあ、突き詰めていってしまえば、色を塗るだけだ。コツさえつかめれば、問題ないだろう。
Maybe he's simply curious about how people apply nail polish, or maybe it could have stemmed from his love for Lyric Story. Autumn's curiosity and interest in nail polish are quite apparent to anyone. Okay, thank you. In this case, it's better to just pick up on the hint. You give Autumn your hands once he's seated next to you. Maybe it's better to try it on one nail first, like my pinky. You add, trying to make things easier for him. You know full well that Autumn isn't as well versed in nail polish as you are. It's okay, I can. Ah! A dark drop of nail polish drips from the brush as you're about to reach the bottle in Autumn's hand. It falls right onto your outreached hand, which gives Artem the perfect excuse for insisting to help.
やはり私がやろう。指先を拭いてから塗る。そうだな。
Okay, I'm counting on you. Artem said a moment ago that applying nail polish is basically coloring on the nails, but when it's down to hands-on practice, he still appears nervous. Noticing the slight tremble in his hand holding the bottle cap, you calm yourself to avoid causing him extra stress. I need to relax too. Still, you can't help but glance at Artem from the side. You feel tempted to brush away the hair on his cheek or blow at it while he's not paying attention. Your hand jerks involuntarily as you're caught between conflicting ideas.
手が震えているのを笑ったな。聞こえたぞ。ほら、じっとして。はみ出したらまたやり直しだ。もう少しリラックスしてくれないか？そんな風に私や自分の手を見つめている必要はないだろう。
The sincerity in his voice somehow fuels your desire to pull a prank on him. You can feel it heating up like the sun outside the window. Why don't you help distract me? As you whisper into Artem's ear from behind, you can see the fine hairs on his neck stand up in the sunshine. Artem, who seems to be smiling to himself, quickly responds to your action in his own way. Huh? It comes as a surprise that his idea of helping you realize is to hum a song, but what is more intriguing is the tune itself. It's that iconic song from Lyric Story. In fact, it's that very song on the last record, Something You Never Knew. Emotions once quieted by Autumn's reassurance rush again into your heart. When you finally gather yourself, you find you're more slightly open. Autumn, that missed record is very important to you, isn't it? It's hard to imagine him misplacing the record in another case. Has it really gone missing?
あれは私が最初に手に入れたレコードだったんだ。確かに多少の思い入れはある。だが、何としても見つけなければならないというほどのものではない。だから、それがいかに大切かどうかということより、君にはストレンジャーノベルズのシーンを演じる他の理由があるのかどうかの方が気になる。
What do you mean? Participants are supposed to share their personal stories with the movies they've chosen before the performance. It can be a film review or analysis, or a personal anecdote related to the movie. All of them play a certain role in the final result.
私が最初の聴衆になっても構わないか？事前に練習して内容を洗練させればより目立てるかもしれない。
So that's what Artem's curious about. It's the mix of a proposal from a professional film reviewer and an inadvertent expression of a lover's possessiveness. You sense that almost instantaneously, and your response is likewise filled with a variety of seemingly irrelevant emotions. You indicate to Artem to close the nail polish bottle for now as you lie down and relax against his shoulder. Our school organized a study trip abroad during my freshman or sophomore year. Everyone from our grade went. The night before we returned, I wandered about with a classmate and ran into this little shop. Now that I think about it, there was something quite special about the shop. They sold both coffee and all kinds of second-hand vinyl records. The shopkeeper said it was movie night, so I was free to request any song I wanted. So I followed the recommendation of another customer and asked for something you never knew. What do you think of the beginning, Artem? Will it get the judge's attention? Even though it's just a casual conversation, you still can't help but feel a bit nervous as you wait for Artem's response. And Artem can always sense the more subtle changes in your body, so he pats on your arm reassuringly.
もしも私が審査員なら、君が入ったその店に興味が湧くな。そして、少し羨ましいとも思う。
Drawn to it?
ああ、よくよく考えれば、コーヒーとレコードの相性は抜群だからな。調和が目に見えるようだ。弁護士をしていなければ、大学卒業後は、本当にそういう店を開いていたかもしれない。
You, the owner of a coffee shop, give me a moment to process that thought. Looking at Artem's smiling eyes, you try to picture him in an apron, making latte art behind a counter. But however hard you try to imagine it, something seems odd about that picture. Also, let's forget about that alternate version of you for now. Aren't you getting off topic? We were just talking about whether my story will help us win the prize, and you promised to help make it better.
多少話がそれたところで問題はないだろう。
Is he only interested in the shop you just mentioned? Or maybe he has other motives besides listening to your story? It's the same as when you blew into his ear while he was painting your fingernails. Different thoughts may enter his mind when he's playing an audience member. For example, he might feel that it's not quite enough to just listen. Instead, he wants to become a part of the story, someone who can interact with you.
細かいことを言えば、さっきの時点で聞き手が身近に感じられるようにと多少の脚色は入っていたはずだ。 仮に私が弁護士をしていなかった、もしもの世界線で、君が深夜にふと私の店に迷い込んできたとしたら、どのようなことが起きていたか気にならないか？
Well, what happened back then was that we only exchanged a few words. I don't even remember what the shopkeeper looked like. But if it had been you, I imagine we would have interacted more, and it would have been more memorable too. You close your eyes to better immerse yourself in the realm of imagination together with Artem. Instead of being filled with darkness, your vision lights up with even brighter colors. The bell at the door rings as you push the door open and enter a space permeated with the pleasant aroma of roasted coffee beans. The young man, who didn't become a lawyer or your partner, looks up, shooting you a questioning glance. Oh, sorry, are you close? I'll leave if it is.
いや、今日はずっと空いている。夜にイベントがあってね。映画愛好家たちへのシネマナイトなんだ。
Despite what he's saying, the two of you are the only ones in the shop apart from a few customers sitting silently in a corner. Artem seems to be realizing that as well, but he chooses to ignore it out of his pride as a shop owner.
何か曲でも？
You turn your gaze to an old record player that Artem is gesturing towards.
映画の曲が聴きたければ曲名を言ってみてくれ。聴きたい曲を見つけよ
Even if that's the case, Everyone has a couple of favorite movies, but faced with the countless records in his collection, you find it difficult to make a choice.
う。曲名がわからなくても心配ない。鼻歌でも構わない。歌うのが恥ずかしければ声は控えめでも。私は耳がいいんだ。
The shopkeeper has clearly misunderstood your dilemma. In his efforts to make you less nervous, he ends up blushing himself, which happens to be a good way of easing the tension. As you begin to relax, you feel somewhat curious about the man standing in front of you. Is he new to greeting customers, or does his awkwardness arise from a more complicated emotion? You pull over a stool and have a seat to observe him closer while he's adjusting the record player. Let's play that record on the shelf. Did you just say the shop won't close today?
ああ、そうだな。
Does that mean I can stay a little longer, even until midnight? The stiffer his response, the easier it is for you to sense a kind of curious desire that rises as the night wears on. So you cast a deliberate glance outside the shop before drawing closer to him. I think all the other shops are closed. Can I really sit here all night?
今だってとっくに0時を過ぎている。だから言っているだろう。追い出したりなんかしないさ。日暮れから朝まで君が扉を開ければいつだって一休みできる。ここはそんな場所なんだ。
A weird and clumsy man whom you find strangely endearing. Perhaps it's because he's discussing something he's passionate about. In this rare moment, the man is able to articulate expressions that would be quite challenging for most people.
どうした？ぼーっとしているようだが。
It's nothing. I was just thinking about something personal. You have to stop staring at him. It feels as if one more look at him could slow down the fading night, and you might be unable to leave. Stop! Hold on a second. You sit up abruptly on the sofa before the imaginative encounter proposed by Artem takes a wrong turn. Is this why people say imagination is always better than reality? My real experience in that shop was actually far from peaceful. Something weird happened.
妙なこと？
I did ask the person behind the counter to play that classic song from Lyric Story as recommended by another customer. But shortly after, the owner of the shop returned. He said something to me in a foreign language that I couldn't understand at all and insisted on giving me that record for seemingly no reason. To make things even more chaotic, the other students found us, telling us to return to the hotel at once and meet everyone there. Before I knew it, I had already left the shop with that record without paying. You hear a low chuckle from Artem as you complain about the chaotic situation.
なるほどな。それが君の視点からの話か。
My perspective?
いや、君が異国で体験した奇妙な出来事に感動しているだけだ。レコードの行方も気になるが。
Speaking of that, I don't really remember. I might have put it away somewhere at home, or the classmate who had gone on the same study trip as me could have taken it. Alright, I can try and get in contact with her. Maybe she'll know. Seeing that you're about to rise and grab your phone nearby, Arthur gently pulls you back into his arms.
私たちにとって過去とは、すでに起きた人生の断片に過ぎない。今は、このジャケットの中身を埋めるのが優先だ。そうだろ？
That's true. Then could you help me improve my story? And we also need to practice our performance.
ああ。どうせ時間はあるんだ。とことん付き合おう。
Artem is right. You still have countless days and nights before the performance. However, a stubborn voice deep inside you insists that he is implying far more than what you've understood. Movie Lounge. Days of rehearsal have gone by. Today is the day of the movie lounge. With a crowd of excited or curious movie fans, Artem and you find an empty seat in a corner of the reception area. After getting seated, Artem continues to glance at the crowd from time to time. You can't help but lean over and squeeze his hand. I won't let it slip and have everyone know you're the Mockingbird. According to your plan, you give yourselves special nicknames like aliases when you registered for the event. Autumn believes that your reputation might cause trouble on this occasion, so it's better if you hide it in exchange for more freedom. Besides, I don't believe the organizer has ever met the Mockingbird in person, so there's no need to be nervous.
心配しているのはそこではない。景品を奪い合うことになる対戦相手たちを観察していたんだ。
What do you think then? How are our chances?
そうだな。映画評論家の立場から見ると。
Looking around, many participants are indeed finely dressed, laughing and throwing around all kinds of film jargon. You pick up the event program lying on the armrest, waiting for Autumn to continue, somewhat anxious about what he's going to say. At this moment, he gently grabs the program you're holding in front of you. You can easily hide your faces behind the program if you unfold it a little.
君は今晩、うまくここに馴染めると思う。
Just as Artem predicted, things go pretty well when it's your turn to speak. You and Artem have improved your speech together. It begins with a personal story, which eventually leads to a professional analysis of the film's narrative structure. You sit down amidst applause, exchanging a victorious glance with Artem.
素晴らしいスピーチありがとうございました。次に進む前に一つだけ質問よろしいでしょうか。さっきからお隣の方がずいぶん静かなようですが、 一緒にイベントに来ているということは、彼も映画愛好家ではないのですか？
ええ、私もそうです。ですが、
Artem must be trying to convey the message that the star of tonight's event is you, not him, but the organizer seems to have gotten it all wrong.
大丈夫ですよ。皆さんに自由に映画に対する意見を述べてもらうのが当サロンの目的ですから、何の遠慮もいりません。言い換えれば、誰もがコマ撮りロビンのような独特な見解を持つ映画評論家になれるということです。
The mockingbird himself is right here. Artem seems to have noticed your attempt to stifle a chuckle, so he takes the microphone from the organizer somewhat reluctantly.
わかりました。では、せっかくですので、私も語らせていただきます。実は私も彼女と同じで、ストレンジャーノベルズの男女主人公が一緒に踊るシーンを気に入っていましてね。それぞれ心に秘密を抱えているかもしれませんが、彼らに共通しているのは、どちらも踊りながら、より互いに近づきたいと思っていること。
Artem pauses between sentences, probably trying to come off as someone sharing their opinion on a film for the first time. You, of course, play along by offering him an encouraging look.
あの心境がとても共感できるんです。私にも大学生の頃、似たような経験がありましたので。
That's right, that feeling of inexperience is precisely what he needs. Wait, I think Artem never said anything like this when we were rehearsing. Artem's glance sweeps over your expression of surprise at this very moment. He continues as if lost in his memories.
それは数年前、海外旅行をした時に立ち寄った喫茶店でのことです。確か、帰る前日の夜でした。店の隅の方で、一人で座ってコーヒーを飲んで手帳を見ていると、少し疲れた様子の女性が入ってきました。彼女は店員と少し言葉を交わしましたが、服装の感じと聞こえてきたその言葉から、出身は私と同じではないかと思いました。彼女は、そのお店にはなんとなく立ち寄ったらしく、オーナーに何の曲を聴きたいかと聞かれたときは、困って固まっていましたね。
What is Artem? He's telling your story from a different perspective, as if he had been a part of that deal. You have indeed played out that type of scenario during your rehearsals, but that remained an interesting idea just between the two of you. The other members of the audience wouldn't notice what's really going on, but you, having rehearsed the presentation with Artem countless times, feel as if your ears are burning. His acting is like an unspoken invitation, bringing you back to the time when you shared your story with him and indulged in unfettered imagination.
だから、ちょっとした助け舟のつもりで、ストレンジャーノベルズの曲はどうかと勧めました。それから、
Artem pauses to look at you at this very moment. You freeze, uncertain about why he paused so suddenly while still trying to understand why he's saying all this. As you try to think of a response, the organizer walks up to you quietly.
話の途中すみません。そろそろ休憩時間になりますので、ひとまずこの辺で。
A break? She responds with a somewhat apologetic smile while raising her phone. The alarm was turned off a few seconds ago. You recall having seen a halftime break on the program, but now is clearly not the time to dwell on the trifling details.
はい。なのでお話は皆さんのお食事が済んでから改めて聞かせていただくという感じでよろしいでしょうか。その後再現の方に。
The organizer seems to babble on, but instead of focusing on what she's saying, you quietly grab Artem's wrist. Restroom. Before the crowd around you starts to move again, you quickly find the guest restroom and push Artem inside. The room is intended as a space to change clothes and refreshen up, but now is perfect for a private conversation between you and Artem. After locking the door, all that's audible in the room is the sound of you two breathing. Artem seems clueless about your thoughts. He smoothed down your collar, which had somehow been upturned.
再現コーナーが始まる前に身だしなみを整えておきたかったのか？なら私が手伝ってあげよう。うん。服装は問題ないな。マニキュアも落ちていない。
He gestures for you to sit down on a low stool while he bows his head to carefully check your outfit in a half squatting, half kneeling position. Tempted by the difference in height, you reach out and bury your fingers slowly and gently in his hair. If you bend forward slightly, you can even smell the cologne he picked out for him. You picked out for him before you left. You seem to be getting better at teasing me.
ん？何の話だ？
You just shared with everyone an imaginary story we went out for fun. Telling that to everyone could confuse them at best. Being this close to Artem, you can hear his amused chuckle.
急にどうしたかと思えばそのことだったのか。安心するといい。私は別に彼らに話していたわけではない。あれは他でもない。君に向けた言葉だ。
For me, Artem straightens up, causing you to lean back instinctively. But it isn't a large stool, so you can barely keep your balance as your heart rate picks up.
あの映画もそうだが、アングルによって伝えられる情報や感情は大きく異なる。同じ話でも視点が変われば、また一味違った感情を呼び起こすことができるんだ。
The same story? I don't think I get it, Artem. As you mumble those words, boisterous laughter and voices are steadily audible outside the door. The halftime break is probably about to end, but Artem is still whispering something into your ear, keeping you right where you are, fighting to keep the stool from wobbling.
もし、私たちが共に想像した異国の喫茶店での出来事が、想像の産物ではなかったと言ったら、君は信じるか？
Artem's question comes as a shock. You open your mouth, but no sound comes out for some time. Artem, on the other hand, straightens your top reassuringly before pulling you up.
すぐに答えを出す必要はない。今はひとまず戻ろうか。本番はこれからだ。
Movie Lounge. On your way back to the lounge, you keep pondering over Artem's words, looking up at him from his side every now and then. He looks calm as usual, which makes you even more curious. It wasn't entirely a figment of imagination, but Artem couldn't have been at the cafe back then, could he? Is he just teasing me? Despite your many questions, you don't have a chance to talk with Artem alone again. The performances are about to begin. You and Artem take a few steps back from each other, waiting for the music from the movie to start at any moment.
始まるぞ。余計なことは考えずに、ただ私に集中してくれればいい。
But no matter how hard I try to stop myself from thinking about this, after hearing what Artem had to say, you feel more closely connected to the movie character than ever before. In the movie, two people harboring different intentions approach each other under the cover of music, which is exactly what you're doing at this moment. The film score you once heard starts, bringing back your memories. Our school organized a study trip abroad during my freshman or sophomore year. Everyone from our grade went. The shopkeeper said it was movie night, so I was free to request any song I wanted. So I followed the recommendation of another customer and asked for something you never knew.
それは数年前、海外旅行をした時に立ち寄った喫茶店でのことです。確か、帰る前日の夜でした。店の隅の方で、一人で座ってコーヒーを飲んで手帳を見ていると、少し疲れた様子の女性が入ってきました。彼女は、そのお店にはなんとなく立ち寄ったらしく、オーナーに何の曲を聴きたいかと聞かれた時は、困って固まっていましたね。だから、ちょっとした助け舟のつもりで、ストレンジャーノベルズの曲はどうかと勧めました。
Was Artem really the one who recommended that song to me? You can't help but stare at Artem, who's swaying along with your movements. The smile deepens in Artem's eyes. He takes your hand and spins you around, adding an impromptu move to the dance. That can't be. Why didn't I recognize him? But you couldn't have recognized him, because that encounter had happened long before the two of you were officially introduced. Only when the characters in a story are acquainted with each other can the separate fragments of memory become whole again, like tonight. Coffee. The bell at the shop entrance rings. You and your classmate walk quietly into the shop. The silence here forms a stark contrast with your touristy appearance, making you feel somewhat uneasy in an instant. Excuse me, are you still open? We'd like to order maybe coffee or cake if you have anything like that. The person behind the bar, who's been wiping glasses in silence, looks up at you and says something in a low voice. However, neither you nor your classmate has studied the language, and it's difficult to understand the meaning of what he's saying based on the tone alone. I'm sorry, but I don't quite understand what you're saying. You try using several other common languages to ask your question, but the shopkeeper still looks confused. I...
その人は、自分はオーナーではなく、ただの店番だと言っている。それと、何か聞きたい曲はあるのか、だそうだ。
Pick a song. You look at the owner of the voice. It feels nice to hear your native language being spoken in a foreign country. However, the speaker appears to be keeping his distance while flipping through a notebook in the shadows.
今日はシネマナイトといって、店内にあるレコードから好きなものを選んでかけてもらえるんだ。もし決められないのなら、あのレコードなんてどうだ？
Something you never knew. Following his gesture, you see a giant vinyl record case placed in a rather conspicuous spot near the bar.
私はその映画が気に入っていてな。物語の描写が従来のストーリーの流れを壊し、多方面からの視点を取り入れ、すまない。話が逸れてしまったな。とにかく音楽自体も素晴らしくて、世間からの評価も高い。
Then let's give it a try. I'll just think of it as a mystery box. Oh, thanks for the recommendation. So you... Before you can continue your conversation or make out what this person looks like, a sound comes from the bar. The person behind the bar seems to have caught a snippet of your conversation, the only phrase that he understands. He takes out the vinyl record and places it on the record player. A lively blues waltz fills the room at once, grabbing your attention. That's a surprising genre. Judging from that stranger's demeanor, you thought he'd be more into classical music. But this song encourages you to leave behind all worries, bob your head along with the music, tap your fingers, or even hum to the tune as you wish. Is that guy laughing? The man is sitting in dim light, fully wrapped in a trench coat, which makes it difficult to tell what he looks like. You also have no idea about what his name is or where he's from. However, something beyond the descriptive power of language seems to be connecting the two of you, subtly changing all your surroundings. Before you know it, the record player in the lounge has already fallen silent. You look around and see that some members of the audience rise from their seats, applauding both you and Artem who have just concluded the performance.
どうやらうまくいったようだ。
Yeah, as much as I want to celebrate our victory right away, there's one thing that's even more important. You look at Artem and share with him the thought that just crossed your mind. Artem, why didn't you tell me earlier that you had also been in that cafe? He could have mentioned this to you when you were in his home teacher, and you would have been pleasantly surprised. In order to figure out what Artem's intention is, you steady your breath and grab his hand, leaving him no chance to change the topic.
そうだな。私はずっと今こうして付き合っていることの方が当時の一瞬の出会いよりも大事だと考えている。過去を懐かしむよりもそれが今の私たちに何をもたらしたかの方を大切にすべきだと思っているからな。ただこの前片付けをしていた時に君があの空になったジャケットを見つけたのを見て考えが変わった。今回のサロンで君と過ぎ去ったあの時をもう一度追体験するのも悪くないなと。
What? Is that why you drew this out for so long?
もちろんその自覚はある。ただ私の目的を達成するにはそうするしかなかったんだ。話の種明かしをするためには時間や場所、そして登場人物すべてが揃っていないといけない。つまり今こそが絶好のタイミングだったというわけだ。あの日オーナーが店に戻ってきた後、君が注文した曲のレコードをくれただろ。
Yeah, it gave us quite the shock. We had no idea what he was saying, so we couldn't understand why he took that record from the player and just gave it to me on the spot. Listening to your puzzled description, Artem nods as if he already knows what happened.
そのレコードを受け取った時、ジャケットは一緒ではなかっただろ。
Yeah, I suppose he wanted to give me the keys as well, but my classmate and I were already getting dragged away by those who had come to find us. Wait, so we only got the record? The record without a case the shop owner stuffed into your hands, the case without a record in Artem's collection. And the two of you being in the same shop at the same time. You put your hand over your mouth, it suddenly clicks. It's like two pieces of a puzzle have come together. What has been confounding you for a while finally breaks free from the fog of mystery. Cafe. The reason you didn't get to speak with Artem a bit more was because of the sudden return of the shop owner. The bell at the entrance jingles. An old man who seems to be the shop owner looks at you in surprise. It appears he has been observing you for quite a while. The next instant, he walks right up to you and begins to speak fast. Wait, I'm sorry, I can't understand what you're saying. He seems to be talking about something important. Next, he turns off the record player, picks up the vinyl record and places it in a dust bag. Are you trying to give me the record? But I can't accept such an expensive gift. Can someone please help translate? You look back again in desperation, hoping to turn to the man who helped you just a moment ago. But what puzzles you even more is that he deliberately averts his gaze. In the flickering light, you can barely make out that his ears are turning red, resembling the color of the rose painting hanging on the wall. What's going on with him? The shop owner has also noticed his strange behavior, so he leaves you alone for a second to talk to the man holding the empty record case. Meanwhile, more noises are coming from the shop entrance. Someone seems to be calling your name. After that, my classmates dragged me back to the hotel to meet with the others, so I have no idea what happened next. And that makes Artem the only person that able to tell the rest of the story. Artem, you understood what the shop owner said, didn't you? What was he?
皆様、本日はご参加いただき、誠にありがとうございます。それではこれより、入賞者の発表へと移ります。
Your conversation is interrupted again. On one side is the vinyl record, your original goal, and on the other side lies the truth from which you're only one step away. Artem notices your dilemma. He leans over and whispers in a low voice.
入賞の結果なら気にしなくて大丈夫だ。これまでの話で分かったと思うが、私がオーナーからもらったジャケットの中身はもともと空だった。だから中身を埋めなくても私にとって大切なものであることに変わりはない。それからあの時の状況についてだが、
Artem's whisper seems to build a small space separating you temporarily from all that's happening in reality. In this space, there is no such thing as the flow of time. Even past stories that happened years ago are as vibrant as freshly plucked flowers. As the boundary between past and present blurs, you seem to relive how you instinctively turned to Artem for help, eager to figure out what the shop owner was saying.
きっとオーナーを含めその場にいた誰もが私たちの表情の変化に気づいていたのだと思う。それで私たちの仲を取り持とうと、彼は私たちを引き合わせたレコードを君に、ジャケットを私に渡したのだろう。ただお互い遠くから眺めているだけではなく、映画と音楽という架け橋を通して距離を縮められるようにな。彼はあの時君にこう言ったんだ。お嬢さん、若い時にこそ全力で恋しないと。さあ、夜が明けないうちにあの紳士を誘ってくるがいい。一緒に踊っても言葉を交わすだけでも。
What? Artem, now's not the time to joke around.
当時の私ではその言葉をどう翻訳し君に伝えればいいのかわからなかったんだ。彼の言ったことはあまりに大胆すぎた。何より当時の私たちは初対面だったからな。あの時の私は数年後にその女の子と恋に落ちて家庭を築き、一生の伴侶となることなど知る由もなかった。そうだ、オーナーはあの後小説からこんな一文も引用したんだ。もちろんそれは後で調べて分かったんだがな。今思えばあれは今夜のサロンで映画のシーンを再現することを予言していたのかもしれない。
Really? Then tell me what he said. For guests at the lounge or anyone else in the entire world, what Artem is about to say is only a sentence derived from a novel. But for the two of you, it's a treasure only to be shared with each other. All noises from the outside world seems to fade away as Artem whispers in your ear.
幸運なことに短い人生で私がいて君がいた。私たちは出会うため、そして踊るために生まれてきた。
Artem lets out a sigh of relief after completing the sentence. But in the backdrop of the night, this expression could easily be mistaken for a sleepy yawn. Holding by the laugh, you gently tug at a corner of his shirt. You're not planning on going home and sleeping, are you? This is going to last for a while.
いや、ただほっとしただけだ。最後の最後とはいえ、あの時、すれ違ってしまったと思っていた子を、こうしてダンスに誘うことができたのだから。あの頃から彼女は、私にとって特別な存在で、そばにいてくれるだけで、変わり映えのない生活が、パッと明るくなるような人なんだ。そうだ、あの時私が持っていた手帳のことを覚えているか？
Yeah, what about it? From what you remember, Artem had been looking at that notebook since you entered the cafe.
レコードを進めた時、一瞬映画の話題にそれたことがあるだろう。実はあの頃から映画を批評することが好きで、手帳にかなり書き込んでいたんだ。だが、それを誰かに見せたことはなかった。あの晩、君と出会うまで。君と出会ったおかげで、映画や音楽はとても自由で、全く交わりのなかった二人をつなげてくれることを知った。私たちも簡単に影響を受けるのだから、ならば他の人たちはどうだろうか。そう思って、あの晩から私は批評を SNS に投稿し始め、それをきっかけに世界各地の映画ファンたちと交流を持つようになったんだ。
Really? That means... Artem responds to your unspoken guess with a smile, lifting his head to survey the crowd engaged in lively discussions about movies. In the end, his gaze falls on the lounge poster next to your seats. Interpret your favorite movie like the Mockingbird. Once again, you repeat the slogan in your mind.
コマ撮りロビンを作ったのは君だ。この名前の知名度が上がって、ここの人たちを含めて、ますます多くの人がコマ撮りロビンのことを知るようになったから、今夜のサロンがある。
Are you saying that I have always been somehow connected to it all? All these people and events? You mumble incredulously, taken completely by surprise. To think that after all these years, a random encounter between you and Artem in another country has led to this lively scene in front of you today. It's like the butterfly effect.
ああ、だから君ならうまく馴染めるだろうと言ったんだ。君が全ての発端であり、この奇跡を叶えた人なのだから。
New home. It's almost midnight when you return from the movie lounge. You push aside the decorative paper inside the box before you, from which you and Artem pull out something that closely resembles a suitcase. A handwritten card is attached to the handle, a record player in the shape of a suitcase dedicated to film enthusiasts like you. A record player. A couple of hours earlier, when Artem was telling you about the pause, the organizers were announcing the winners. Instead of the third prize, which would have been a vinyl record of your choice, you brought home the one and only special prize.
思ったよりも順位が高かったことが不満か？
No, how could I be? You hold up the card in front of the neon-lit nighttime scenery outside the window and lean back, relaxed into Artem's arms. A record player is great. We can use it to play all kinds of records in the future. For example, this one here. As you speak, you reach into the backpack you had thrown aside and fish out a thin box to hand to Artem.
ん？これはストレンジャーノベルズのレコード。どうしてこれを？3等の商品はもらえなかったはずでは。
Technically, this was not a prize. I made a deal for it. movie lounge. After the lounge comes to an end, you quietly approach the organizer as Artem leaves to drive the car out of the underground parking lot.
どうされました？まだ何かありましたか？
Well, you take a deep breath and share with her the reason you attended the movie lounge with Artem. The organizer seems increasingly surprised as you speak. You can't help but avert your gaze, feeling a bit embarrassed. It happened so long ago, so chances are I'm not going to find a record from back then. So I thought it would be best to get another one to make this night perfect. Do you know where I could buy a record of something you never knew? While talking with the organizer, you can see her extensive record collection out of the corner of your eye, which further convinces you that you're asking the right person. With a light chuckle of amusement, she walks to the shelf, retrieves an album, then returns.
そんな回りくどいことしなくても、これを持っていけばいいじゃないですか。
Huh? But I can't take it for nothing.
もちろんただではありませんよ。このレコードをお渡しする代わりに、たまにはサロンにボランティアとして顔を出してほしいのです。あなたのお話を聞いて、映画は国や言葉を超えて人をつないでくれるものだと改めて実感しました。だから、あなたが愛する人とかつて見つけた喜びを、ここでより多くの人に伝えてはいただけませんか？
The organizer keeps her hand extended, offering you the album. The moment you touch its surface, you can feel a genuine sense of connection that is difficult to explain. The same feeling that inspired Artem to become a film reviewer is now gently enveloping you. I love to. You open the record case you obtained from the lounge and carefully pull out the record in front of Artem. Artem's long empty record case you had brought to your new apartment sits on a desk nearby. Let's put it in together.
少し待ってくれ。
Artem gently blocks your hand and casts a glance over at the record player for some reason.
そのレコードだが、今すぐ聞いてもいいか？私たちが一緒にコレクションした最初のレコードだからな。すぐにしまってしまうのは少しもったいない気がする。
Then let's put it away later, but is it really enough just to play the song? Technically, tonight is still our movie night. I believe someone once said to me, go talk to him, dance with him before the night is over. Your hint is obvious. Perhaps Artem shares your thought, for he naturally accepts your proposal.
そうだな。では、あの時の話の続きを紡ぐとしよう。だがその前に、少し準備が必要だ。さっき化粧室で、君の身だしなみについて、少し手直しが必要なところを見つけてな。直してやるから、ちょっとこっちに来てくれ。
Not fully grasping which details Artem is speaking of, you curiously take a seat on the sofa. Artem quickly takes your hand in his, examining the nail polish he applied to bring you closer together with your character.
やはり、ところどころムラが出ているな。
Compared to the first time he applied nail polish, Artem's hand is much steadier. But you're not entirely focused on waiting for him to finish painting your nails. Instead, you inadvertently lean toward Artem. You trail your hand from the back of his head, where his hair is a little messy, to his shoulders that rise and fall gently with each breath. You could caress him like this 1,000 times without getting tired.
あまり動かないでくれ。そこそこ練習したとはいえ、毎回完璧に塗れる保証はないんだ。
That's okay. To tell the truth, I think it's even better when it's not perfect. That way, I can tell at a glance which of these colors have been left by you. The icy touch of nail polish merges with the warmth of Artem's hand. The tangle of different temperatures gives rise to a special feeling. It is as if a certain part of your body has been marked with his warmth, which will not dissipate even after the night passes. Awesome. I have another question. Back then at the cafe, if my classmates hadn't come to bring me back to the hotel, I would have stayed. Would you have invited me to dance like the shop owner said? Artem pauses for a moment. He seems to be pondering over some unfinished business both near and far, his body bathing in a mellow light emanating a faint loneliness.
そうだな。君に近づきたい気持ちと恥ずかしい気持ちで多少葛藤するとは思うが、私は結局君を誘うと思う。そして一度と言わず、あの店長に何度もレコードをリピートしてもらうよう頼んだだろうな。夜は長い。君がそばにいてくれれば、私たちはどこへでも行けるし、心の赴くままに過ごすことができる。
Even if it was just to stay at the cafe a little longer, even until midnight? You pictured yourself saying that to Artem in a parallel world when you were lost in imagination with him. Some things always remain the same wherever you go. Be it here or in a parallel universe, you will always be drawn to him and start that conversation. If we stayed too late, we would have missed the last train and the last bus. Calling a cab at that hour would have also been difficult. And after we shared that dance, we might have had to walk back home. Would you have been okay with that?
ああ、構わない。あの日、君が出会った時点で、とうに0時を過ぎていた。そんな状況だったから、早々に別れを告げることよりも、素直に心に従おうと思った。
As you wait for the nail polish to dry, Autumn takes your hand and pulls you up to stand beside him. He leads you to step onto the carpet with him and take a spin by the windows. It's almost like a prelude to the dance invitation. Is it because of the light? The neon lights from outside the window fall on one side of Artem's body, and it feels as though he's walking between reality and fantasy. Playing the role of a young man from the past lingering in a cafe, he plants a light kiss by your ear along with an invitation.
誰かが教えてくれたんだ。そう遠くない未来で、君は私の生涯の恋人になると。だから、自分で確かめてみたくなってな。言い換えれば、私と踊ってほしいということだ。
The dance has already begun. The record player is already running. You can hear the music begin softly. Come here, then. It feels like as long as you're with him, you want the present moment to last forever, immersed in the city lights as you dance together. The scenery before you gradually changes as time ticks by, yet Artem is still softly humming along to the song. So you close your eyes, hoping that morning will come a bit later, just a little bit later.
私だ。うん。君はまだ依頼主のところか。大丈夫だ。仕事が早く終わってな。それで下見を兼ね、一足先に来てみた。幸運か、偶然か。前に話した飲みの市が、君のいるビルから近いんだ。ん？いいものがあるかって？そういえば、骨董品店を見つけてな。置物のほか、レコードもたくさん置いてあるんだ。店主が各国の旅先で買い集めたものらしい。 ああ、君の言う通り、私は時間の流れを感じるものに目がないようだ。ん？どうして知っているんだ？なるほど。休憩の時に会議室の窓から見たんだな。ならさっきの質問は知ってて聞いたのか？うん。さっき露店を回っていた時に同じ店の前で何度も立ち止まっていた。君へのプレゼントを選んでいたんだ。君のおかげであの晩二人にとって特別なレコードをもらえた。これからも君と一緒にレコードのコレクションを増やしていきたい。ああ、あの蓄音機も鳴らさないと。それを使って長い夜に花を添えよう。うん。どうしたんだ？レコードのことになると熱くなって止まらなくなるから笑ってるのか？うん。また後で。終わったら電話してくれ。じゃ。